Hey guys, it's Julian, and on February 7th, 1974, the movie industry changed forever. You see, in the 70s, the Western movie genre was dying, and it was in desperate need of a second wind. A second wind that came by the name of Blazing Saddles.
We'll head them off at the pass!
Head them off at the pass? I hate that cliche.
You see, Blazing Saddles destroyed the already dying Western genre by making fun of it every chance it got. Why do cowboys only eat beans, and why is it always by a fire? How come every cowboy is white? How about instead of a classic Mexican standoff, we have the characters point the gun at themselves? How about we make fun of bandits? How about we make fun of Westerns? How about we just make fun of movies in general? The ending is a spectacular fourth wall break, one of the first of its kind. The film is a perfect satire, and even the Library of Congress recognizes it as such. But was Blazing Saddles truly the nail in the coffin for Westerns? Yes and no. Yes, because it pulled the curtain back behind all those other mediocre Westerns that were coming out, and it almost killed the genre. However, earlier I called Blazing Saddles a second wind. That's because it forced Western movies to innovate and break free from the cliches that were holding them back. Today, in 2023, some of my favorite movies, and some of the best movies ever made, are Westerns. If you lived through the early 70s, you witnessed the popularization, deconstruction, and homeostasis of the Western genre. And if you're alive today, that means you're witnessing the popularization, deconstruction, and homeostasis of the superhero genre. Today on This and That, I want to look at two pieces of art that have revolutionized this genre: the Prime Video's The Boys and Alan Moore's graphic novel, Watchmen. The contrasts begin at the beginning. The Boys started off as a comic in 2006, and despite its obscenity, it ran for 6 years. Common consensus is that the comic is garbage. It's too edgy, it's all over the place, its ending is all over the place. You ever have that one friend that's super funny, they have this really funny joke, but they drive it into the ground by just saying it over and over again? That's what reading the 72 issues of The Boys is like. But if The Boys comic is Will Smith's career when he made Wild Wild West, then The Boys TV show is Will Smith's golden period afterwards. I'm talking Men in Black 2, Bad Boys 2, the greatest animated film of all time starring visionary director Martin Scorsese, Shark Tale.
Beautifully made animated pictures.
Oh, what's up? Yo, 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 yo. I'm sorry.
The Boys TV show is well rated, highly produced, the best show Amazon has ever made. It's going on its 4th season, and it's catapulted characters like Homelander into the public consciousness. But while The Boys started as a crappy comic series and later turned into a well-received live-action adaptation, Watchmen is the other way around. It started as a revolutionary graphic novel and was later turned into a live-action movie directed by Zack Snyder. Even though I think the movie is incredible, fans of the graphic novel lampooned it for not sticking to the original story close enough. How can I explain this to the layman? Well, if the Watchmen comic was Will Smith's Bad Boys 2 golden era, then the Watchmen movie would be the weird and sad place we find our boy Will in right now.
And I find it kind of funny, I find it kind of sad, the dreams in which I'm dying.
But these are all differences you could find out through some quick Google searches. That's not why you come to me. You're here for deep media literacy skills, alright? No one else does it like I do it. You know what? I'm done. I'm done apologizing. I am done being persecuted for my strength. You all should be
Thanking Christ that I am who and what I am because you need me.
The Boys TV show is topical, the Watchmen comic is timeless, and they are both fantastic. I read the Watchmen comic for the first time a couple months ago, and I was astonished that a fictional superhero comic resembled our current modern day political climate so closely that if it was released yesterday, as opposed to when it was released originally in 1986, it would be just as well received. Watchmen is at its best when it is tying philosophical concepts of life and death to real-world global politics that had entire nations in distress. The true concept of what is at stake can only be found when you read in between the lines, and even then, only one read-through will result in a lot of things going over your head. The Boys is the complete opposite. It's written very obviously and for the here and now, and that isn't a punch at them. The writing is exquisite. Like I said, the real-world commonalities are much less subtle, whether that be criticizing modern-day right-wing politics or left-wing politics. The Boys always makes it clear as to where it stands on these issues that polarize the people of that fictional world and our real one. These stories are obvious products of their political environment, but the satire written within the stories is very different. The Boys satirizes the superhero medium much more than the specific characters themselves. In fact, their specific character critique is terrible, except for Homelander, but we'll get to that later. The one thing that stays the same between the Boys show and the Boys comic is some of that lazy satire. It seems that the method for writing characters in The Boys is just take a character that's in DC Comics and make them edgy. They take a character like The Flash and ask themselves, well, what if he was a junkie? And they get A-Train. What if Aquaman was a sexual deviant? They get The Deep. What if Wonder Woman was gay?
I'm gay.
Watchmen approaches this critique of popular superheroes with much more nuance. Instead of trying to bring the real world to these characters, they take the famous characters and put them in the real world. I want you to think about Batman for a second. He stays up all night pretending to be this symbol, a dark bastion of justice. In most iterations of the character, Bruce Wayne isn't his secret identity, he's an afterthought. Batman is Batman first, his true identity. Watchmen takes this idea and fully realizes it through the character Rorschach. Rorschach is slowly driven crazy by his life of fighting crime. He describes his old self as naive for not torturing and killing criminals. He refers to himself in the third person, and not by his real name, but by Rorschach. Who would have thought that people who like to dress up and beat up criminals would turn out crazy? Now I want you to think about Captain America for a second. He operates as the face of the American military. He's a mascot that kills people. And when he's put up against a fascist, 100% downright evil military force, it's only obvious that he would go down as a great American hero. But does this world war not weigh on his psyche at all? How heroic could a man playing dress-up in a war zone really be? These are questions Alan Moore asked himself when he wrote Edward Blake, aka The Comedian. The Comedian is the American hero of the Watchmen universe, and he is a genuine maniac. He calls himself the Comedian because he thinks life is one big joke, and when he is dropped into Vietnam, a country made apocalyptic by American interference, the Comedian does not shudder at the lack of humanity that surrounds him. He revels in it.
As I come to understand Vietnam and what it implies about the human condition, I also realize that few humans will permit themselves such an understanding. Blake's different. He understands perfectly. And he doesn't care.
At this point, you're probably thinking, wow, The Boys and Watchmen could not be any more different. And you'd be wrong. I've only really scratched the surface on all those differences between the two stories, but there's one giant similarity that connects them. And before we talk about that, we have to talk about Superman. Very many people claim that Superman is an overrated character, but I'm here to set the record straight. Superman is awesome. Now, you may only know him from Zack Snyder's Man of Steel as a brooding, emotionless alien that doesn't mind killing people, but usually he's an emotional, thoughtful, wholesome human. In the figurative sense, of course, he's Kryptonian, but his spaceship landed in Kansas, being a human is all he's ever known. My favorite Superman moment occurs in this comic run, Superman Grounded. It follows Superman as he has a kind of a Forrest Gump walk the earth moment. Basically, Superman is really sad, so he just wants to walk around and help people on a smaller scale for once, So he fixes cars with his X-ray vision, and he plays some street basketball. It's some really campy stuff. But then he comes across a woman who is sitting on the edge of a building. Superman is patient with her. He stays there from daytime to nighttime, and he talks about his personal experiences with loss and grief. And then he tells her this, and I quote, "If you honestly believe in your heart of hearts that you will never, ever have another happy day, then step out into the air. I'll keep my promise. I won't stop you. But if you think there's a chance, no matter how small, that there might be just one more happy day out there, then take my hand." The woman steps out over the ledge and into Superman's arms. Look at this panel. Ooh, it's giving me chills right now. Superman's greatest power is not his laser vision or his super speed. It's that despite his alien ancestry, his capacity for humanity is unmatched. Now, let's see how Homelander from The Boys treats a woman on the edge.
You know what, Chelsea? I think you should jump.
I don't think I want to.
You don't want to? Why don't you show a little follow-through, Chelsea? Jump.
Please, I just want to get
I'm not
down.
suggesting anymore. Jump.
Oh wow, that is grim. Let's see if Dr. Manhattan has more capacity for humanity.
I am tired of this world, these people. I am tired of being caught in the tangle of their lives.
Well, if you don't see the pattern here yet, let me spell it out for you. Both The Boys and Watchmen contain a perfect deconstruction of the Superman archetype. For example, in Superman Grounded, Watchmen, and The Boys, the characters I've been discussing are all interviewed for the news, and the way they answer their questions shows just how geniusly they are written in opposition to Superman. Let's take Superman's interview. In the second page of the comic, he's being berated by these reporters, and he answers the questions that they ask him honestly, with empathy. He's shown as really vulnerable in this moment, and human. Of course, figuratively human. But in Homelander's interview, well, just take a look for yourself.
Yeah, look, it's
What
understandable.
kind of a nasty question is that?
Oh, no, it's fine. I'm happy to answer.
Starlight just said, and I keep saying, this is not a problem.
I'm sorry, sir. I
I
didn't
don't
mean...
have time for your mediocre ambush. Your job is to report facts, not attack us when we sit here and tell you the truth.
Homelander comes off as a chauvinistic narcissist, and Dr. Manhattan's interview isn't much better. At the end of his interview, he gets berated by reporters, just like Superman did in Superman Grounded, and instead of keeping his cool, he loses it, teleports everyone out of the TV studio, teleports himself to Mars, and then decides to just stay there and coward his way out of all of humanity's struggles because he has become indifferent towards them. Immense power brings out a person's true self. If you were a small-town Kansas boy with loving, perfect parents, power could turn you into the best humanity has to offer. If you were grown in a lab and raised by a corporation, power could turn you into the worst humanity has to offer. And if your science project gave you powers that your friends can't even comprehend, well, it might just disconnect you from humanity entirely. The Boys and Watchmen are masterpieces that were born out of an oversaturation in their medium. In an era where comic books were viewed as campy little flash fiction stories kids would read, Watchmen showed people that comics can be mature and sophisticated. Today, comic book movies are becoming more and more stale and repetitive, but The Boys continues to show us that superhero media doesn't have to be a PG-13 snooze fest with bloodless violence and sexless romance. Just like Blazing Saddles served as the nail in the coffin for Westerns, Watchmen and The Boys have forced their respective mediums to adapt. Just 2 months ago, The Flash was released, and it was the third biggest box office flop of all time, losing $200 million. Does that mean the superhero movie genre is dead? Not even close. 2 weeks before that, a masterpiece was released, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and it brought in rave reviews and enough box office cash to sustain the studio for however long this writer's strike will last. Which brings me to my bottom line. In the 70s, it was Westerns. In the 80s, it was comic books. Today, it's comic book movies. I'm gonna be honest. The fans are tired of mediocrity. And these last couple of years have brought some of the most astonishingly bland and fantastically unique superhero content I've ever seen. And if you love superheroes like I do, I have a pertinent call to action for you. I want you to visit wgfoundation.org/donate to donate money to the Writers Guild of America. These are the geniuses that have written all your favorite superhero moments for the last couple of decades. You see, I used an interview clip with Martin Scorsese earlier in the video where he said this about superhero movies.
Shown if the theaters are taken over by the well-made, beautifully made animated pictures, in a sense.
Well, animated pictures. Well, his criticism of the genre has never felt more valid than today, right now, after that disastrous Flash movie. But if you want more movies like Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, then donate to the fund, and I can guarantee you will rest easy knowing you contributed to making masterpieces like that one and many more to come.